We now want to find out what was happening out here and relate it to what was going on in the caves. And that's all the more important because Phil has just uncovered even more evidence of the Picts' habit of leaving messages in the sandstone.
This one is the original serpent.
Yeah.
Coming in there, but we've actually got a brand spanking new one. Look, it's coming down there and almost mirrors the curve on that one there. I mean, it's just such amazing to me because, I mean, what you're looking at is, well, not only brand spanking new carvings, but look at the condition of the rock face. It's totally unweathered. That, I'm sure, is the way that the Picts would have seen it when they actually carved it. It's brilliant.
And there's no sign that you're anywhere near the bedrock.
Not at the moment,
there.
no.
What's really interesting about these is that these carvings haven't been tampered with in recent times, like most of the other carvings in the other caves.
Yeah.
But also, when you look at that one, it's smooth. You know, it's been pecked first and then it's been ground down nice and smooth. So that's a finished carving.
Oh, right.
Whereas that double disc over the other side of the
this
cave...
one over here?
Yes.
This one?
Well, so
That's
they never finished that one then?
Well, you can still see the pecking on that. They never got round to smoothing it out.
Purely in terms of Pictish archaeology, this is a great find. But in another sense, it's a deeply frustrating discovery. No one knows what it or any of the other Pictish symbols mean, and the Picts themselves are just as mysterious. This is a picture of the Pictish man, recreated by Victor, and this is a picture of a Pictish woman from the early 16th century. I thought what they demonstrate for me is this wide variety in images of who these people might be. Why don't we know more about them?
The problem is, to date and in the past, we've only had a few sources of information to examine them, or certainly that only a few have been exploited. For example, a very colourful but one-sided picture is given from the early historical records we have from the Roman writers about the Picts, and this is likely to be a biased source of information.
We do have quite a good visual impression of them. We know what sort of things they ate. We know the names of their kings.
But it is that whole process of putting together, you know, an earlier people, which archaeologists have had to do time and time again, isn't it?
Yes.
You start with the standing remains, the ruins, you dig on the sites, you find, as you're saying, evidence of diet and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And then there's another stage of thinking, well, yes, but what were they actually like? Were they warlike? Were they builders? Were they farmers?
I think it's likely that excavation, or more excavation of Pictish sites is what's required, because, for example, here in Fife, with the exception of the work we're doing now, there's only really been one sizable excavation of a Pictish site actually in Fife. So it seems utterly almost bizarre that we have this group of people inhabiting Scotland, or a large chunk of Scotland, for so long, and all we really know about them is they had a particularly distinctive artistic style.
But at the moment, the symbols are the only thing we have to go on, and they don't just appear on rocks, because the Picts are also famous for their jewellery.
There was a remarkable find in Fife, about 12 kilometres away from the Weems Caves, at a place called Norrie's Law.
So what happened to it?
Oh, it's a tragic tale because about 400 ounces of silver were found. Unfortunately, the people didn't want them to fall into the hands of the Crown treasure trove. And they actually sold them to a peddler who then sold them to a jeweller in Cooper, and he melted them down and made them into spoons.
Well, no such blasphemy from us, but we are going to try and recreate one of these pendants using methods from the time and one of the original designs.
The objects themselves have left some clues. So what they must have done is to start off by making an ingot of silver. And then they would hammer that ingot flat and they would shape it into the leaf shape. And you can tell that because these are hammer marks on the back. They would have flipped it over, given it a light polish, and then engraved the decoration. Then they would have enamelled it and then give it a final polish.
So there's actually quite a complicated number of stages in it.
Absolutely, requiring a great deal of skill as well.
Hello, my name's John Gator. Time Team is fan-funded by Patreon. This vital support helps us to make new episodes. Joining Patreon gives you access to exclusive interviews, 3D models and masterclasses, plus lots more.